Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the November 17th, 2025 regular meeting of the Weaverville Town Council. Thank you all for being here. I'm calling this meeting to order. Council members, you've had an opportunity to review tonight's agenda and in your agenda packet. Are there any adjustments or changes to be made to the agenda? And if not, can I have a motion to approve the agenda as written?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you very much. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. It is important for any of us on the council to reveal any potential conflicts of interest we may have with any agenda items. Are there anyone, or is there any council member who has any type of conflict with an agenda item this evening? Nope. Good news. We'll move on to our consent agenda. And Town Manager Harris, could you go through tonight's agenda or consent agenda items?
Yes, sir, Mayor and Council. Before we go through that, as you'll notice, going through your packet, we're doing something a little different now to line it up with our strategic plan. You'll notice where it has a strategic plan and goal tie-in as well as a budget tie-in on that aspect. So you'll be seeing that as we move forward in that. Very good. Your first item on consent is October 27th, 25 is your Town Council regular meeting minutes for approval. Moving on to page 7 is your monthly tax report, which shows 18% of the town's property taxes have been collected at the end of October. That total is $866,065.36 out of the $4,800,693.79. Moving on to page 12 is a budget amendment. The fire department received a donation for $1,000 from Hendrick Industries, North Buncombe Quarry on September of 25 as a thank you on the 1-year anniversary of the Hurricane Helene response and recovery efforts. The town has collected an additional $625 in the COPS for Kids donation during the October through November, bringing that fiscal year to date $1,458.31. For our ABC funds for the quarter ending in September 30th, the town has received $3,422.55 for alcohol education and $2,444.68 for law enforcement. On page 14, we have the water line acceptance for Encore at Rims Creek for the phase 2. The water infrastructure is now complete for the phase 2, and the town is asked to accept those lines into the town's public water system. The easement plat that is attached shows an 8-inch water line that was constructed and the 20-foot wide easement. The Public Works Director also urges council to set a water line repair gratuity at $10,000 to cover any defects that might be discovered within 3 years of our acceptance. Upon approval, staff will be working with the owner to get the necessary easement documents in place. Moving on to page 16 is a Helene Recovery Plan adoption. Since April of 25, we've been working with the county and municipal jurisdictions and FEMA representatives on the Helene Recovery Plan. That plan is now in its final form, and Weaverville section plan is the attached. And for those looking at it online, there's a QR code as well as a link that will address that. The plan specifically, Weaverville section is ready for adoption, and a resolution has been provided in your packet for that tonight. Moving on to page 34, a water resiliency and response plan. In accordance with General Statutes 130A 320, EQA requires the public water suppliers that operate a treatment plant and furnishing water from surface water, like the Ivy River, to create and implement a source resort water resilience and response plan, and that plan is attached in your packet as well. On page 35 is a road closure ordinance for a portion of Florida Avenue for the Candlelight Stroll. The WBA, Weaverville Business Association, is conducting their Candlelight Stroll this year on Friday, December 12th. As mentioned previously, the town's portion of this is we're looking at doing a winter wonderland on that section of Florida Avenue between Main Street and Merchant Alley. And so road closure ordinance is needed to close that portion of Florida during the event, and that is attached for your review. Moving on to page 38 is a code amendment for the comprehensive land use plan that was updated in January. Calls for a continuous review of the zoning regulations to ensure statutory requirements. The General Assembly, as you're aware, recently passed laws going into effect on October 6th that will require some code amendments to bring the town's land use development regulations into compliance. Note that the municipalities will no longer have the authority to establish or require pavement design standards for public roads or private roads that are more stringent than the minimum pavement designs for DOT. We ask that you set, Town Council is asked to set a public hearing on the proposed text amendments for December 9th of 2025 here in council chambers at 6 o'clock, addressing that matter. Moving on to page 46 is a resolution that supports the MPO grant application for an update from our 2014 Rims Creek Greenway feasibility study. The WEDAC Economic Development Committee came forward and has encouraged the town to move forward with seeking funding from the MPO feasibility study that was, and some initial work is done on that application. The application deadline is December 31st. One of the newer requirements for this type of grant is that the applicant must commit to paying 20% cash match as part of the application process. A resolution of support is also needed for this grant application, and one is attached for consideration, incorporates the commitment that to require the cash match of 20% if the grant were to be awarded and accepted by the town. And that concludes your consent agenda.
Are there any questions regarding any of the items in the consent agenda?
What is the grant amount requested on that Rims Creek Greenway?
I'm not sure if we have an amount for it yet.
So.
But just to remind folks, we've already got this in place, but the feasibility plan we did is now 10 years old, so this is to renew that. So we've been reserving our 20% for 10 years, I think.
Yes.
But I'm sure that amount will go up with the new amount. It's bound to have gone up over 10 years.
So what is different about this study than the one done 10 years ago? I'm asking because I don't know.
Well, one thing, of course, is the hurricane would have changed a lot of the landscape where the original Greenway was planned. And the original Greenway required some land acquisition, which I'm sure the price of that land would have changed.
And also, Michelle, the guy who was over the MPO told me it costs a whole lot less to do it during the planning stage than it does during the design stage. So if we went with the original plan that's 10 years old and then they find problems, they have to stop everything and do redesign.
Okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
Thank you. Any other
Any other
questions on the
questions?
consent agenda?
If not, can I have a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda?
I'll make that.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Mr. Harris, would you go through your town manager's report, please?
Moving along on page 48 for the manager report. As you're aware, I was out of pocket last week attending class for Leading for Results at the School of Government, which I was awarded a scholarship to attend. Last year, they moved me to this year's cohort due to Hurricane Helene response. So Advent Health is hosting for the officials on November the 18th, tomorrow, providing some updates on the hospital's progress there, and you'll be meeting on site for that. I'll be unable to attend to that tomorrow. I'll be in a class on human resources management tomorrow. The spruce tree at the clock lot, the town was awarded the Arbor Day Foundation charitable grant. Those monies were received and town contracted the Davy Group to perform the tree surveys, the overall tree canopy, the health assessment, and town-owned properties, and in the right-of-ways. The arborist doing the inspection reported that the blue spruce located at that intersection at the clock lot has been infected, and their recommendation was that it be removed. We've elected to continue with that, but it will not occur until the end of the holiday season. To be in compliance with the grant, it will be removed before the end of the year, December 31st, but we will have it up for the holiday season. This year, as you'll hear a little bit later, one of the things we're doing different with the tree is that we've engaged the schools and having the children there make some ornaments for the tree to go on there this year as well.
And I should point out also that I know the tree is kind of loved as a town Christmas tree, but we actually received commitment for a donation of a new tree to replace it today. So.
Correct. Yep. Good to hear.
Excellent.
Veterans Day event was conducted on Tuesday, this past, on the 11th. Appreciate Mr. Jackson and the Patriotic committee for coordinating that. Major General Gil Beck, retired U.S. Army Ranger, was our keynote speaker, providing that information there. It's, the Main Street Nature Park, the town has secured an additional $35,000 in grant funding for the design elements of the stormwater and stream bank stabilization project in the nature park, through the generosity of the Pigeon Fork River Fund that is administered through the Community Foundation. The grant for this project to date totals $215,000 on a project that is estimated at approximately $360,000. Land of Sky Regional Council has been instrumental in helping us secure these monies and hope to secure more monies in spring of '26. Financial system upgrade. Town Hall is currently upgrading our new accounting software. We are scheduled to go live in the new system this week with support on site. Be patient with our staff for the next few weeks, as it may take some time to get fully comfortable navigating and using the new system. Those upgrades, updating the look of the water bills, effective with the January 31st, 26 billing cycle. Any customers who receive e-statements through South Data will need to set up a new account with our MyGov Hub portal, which directly integrates with our accounting software. We would discontinue utilizing the South Data for printing email of the bills effective January 1st of 26. The MyGov Hub portal can be found on our website by navigating through the section to pay town bills online. And if any of the consumers have any questions, they can call staff up front and they'll be glad to assist
I have
them.
a
Yes,
question.
ma'am.
Those customers who do not receive e-bills, will they still get bills in the mail?
That I will find out for sure if we're still doing that aspect, but I believe we are.
They'll
So
still
yes,
get
ma'am.
bills in the mail
Yes.
if they're not? Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. For our holiday season events, the decorating of the Spruce Tree Clock, as I mentioned, this year we'll be doing, the town will be taking on that work, where we've had contracted it out previously. The work is expected to be conducted during December 1st. So while the town has acquired equipment to hang the snowflakes, we will be decorating the tree at that point in conjunction with our primary and elementary school, providing some ornaments for that decoration process. These will be placed on the as decorative garland in order to incorporate our school and families into the holiday event sponsored by the WBA, the Weaverville Business Association of the town. The holiday parade will be held on Saturday, December 6th at 11 a.m. Councilmember Jackson will be our grand marshal for that. So we will be participating in the WBA's candlelight stroll on Friday, December the 12th, again with a portion of Florida Avenue closed to facilitate some holiday activities with our Winter Wonderland project. We'll have some hot chocolate photo opportunities with Santa's sleigh and a mobile bookstore, an area for some tables and chairs and heaters for people to gather during that environment and make it a family-friendly environment for the evening. Give you an update on the I-26 bridge construction, an area that continues and is resulting in some limited interstate shutdowns. When this happens, a great deal of traffic is shifted to our downtown area streets. We will need to have patience and take extra care in driving when this occurs in order to minimize the risk of accidents. They have assured us, though, that their direction is just as quick as trying to reroute through traffic. However, I have not gone out there with a time study to see in that, but they did assure us that if people will be patient setting in that traffic, instead of cutting through town, it does save time by setting there versus them trying to reroute through traffic itself. A temporary food pantry has been established with the beloved Asheville, has placed a temporary food pantry at the clock lot in order to provide food resources to those in need during this time when the benefits were disrupted. This food pantry is monitored by the volunteers. Many who live in Weaverville, and donations are not accepted at the food pantry this time, but they're doing a good job of keeping an eye on that to keep it stocked. The fire department received word this past week that we have been awarded a $50,000 grant from the Office of State Fire Marshal for Helene's Disaster Recovery Program. One of the focuses of council has directed staff to try to research and obtain as many grants as possible, and so that's been pushed out to our department heads to pursue more grant opportunity funding, especially for non-matching grants. And that is a non-matching grant on that aspect. So upcoming events and holidays, for the Thanksgiving holiday, town offices will be closed the 27th and 28th of November. Our holiday parade again is at 11 a.m. on December 6th. We have registration for that closes today. For December 12th, the candlelight stroll in the Winter Wonderland at 6 p.m. And on December 9th, your council workshop meeting at 6 PM here in the chambers. And then on the 15th of December, our town council regular meeting and organizational meeting, which will be swearing in our newly elected officials. December 24th through the 26th, town offices will be closed, as well as January 1st for the New Year Day, town offices will be closed. And that concludes your manager's report, sir.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions for the manager? Seeing none, we'll move on. Next item is item 6 on your agenda, which is our general public comments. And we do have some folks who wish to speak this evening. When I call your name, if you would come to the podium, if you would state your name and your address. You'll have 3 minutes to speak, and if you go beyond your 3 minutes, the manager has this very annoying alarm which will go off. And I encourage everyone to be polite. First up is Sylvia Landis.
Hi. This fall, prior to voting, I was reading the statements of the candidates, and they were talking about the growth for the area and that it's expected to double and the importance of the hospital. And about that time, I took a full foliage drive and was driving up to Boone through Yancey and Mitchell counties. And I saw these signs talking about certified entrepreneurial communities. And I wondered, what is that? So I looked it up, particularly since I'm interested in being an entrepreneur myself. And what it is, it's a certification where the community commits resources, policies, and culture to support new and existing businesses. The best models that are out there look at an integrated model where it basically teaches entrepreneurial skills from elementary school up through seniors. We all know the proverb, give a man a fish and you feed him a day, teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. I believe that committing to becoming a certified entrepreneurial community could support the unlimited creativity and potential in our community. One of the things, and I think in terms of being competitive, that it's necessary to invest in human resources. Looking at some of the things that people are doing, it's basically they're providing tools in public spaces for people's creativity, things like podcasting, laser engravers, video equipment, music machines, circuit board, etc. I know, having worked in government, that you have questions about how do you pay for this stuff. And I think what it is a combination of grants, business commitment, using the resources of the library. For example, when I looked at the library resources, a lot of them are there already, but you'd need to reformat the web pages to make it clearer what kind of career resources are already in existence. I don't want to overemphasize technology because I think there's a dark side personally to technology. But I also find as a citizen that we need to teach the tools for handling the dark side. So for example, today I found myself struggling with some particular things. So anyway, I hope you like that idea.
That's a very good idea, and in fact, we do have the Economic Development Committee has been working on several different projects the last couple of years to promote entrepreneurism. So is Phil Barnett in the crowd?
Yes.
Phil, he's the letterhead of our Economic Development Committee. I'm going to ask him if he won't check into this and bring it up at their meeting next week. Thank you for your idea. Next up is Janice Weaver.
I'm Janice Weaver, but I live on East Street, and I will give my 3 minutes to my husband first.
Hello.
Horace, how are you?
Good to see y'all again. 2 years ago, I was approached to come before the town council to give the history of our black community. I was a little hesitant in doing that because I didn't think it'd be fair to my ancestors, 10 minutes to give my history. That ain't gonna work for me. You know, there's too much there, too much going on, but we made it through. And during that presentation, I made a statement that, we talked about our community center and our church and all the families, and that we were in the process of raising monies and doing things of that nature to preserve our history, our black history. This day and time when our history is being ripped from the books, ripped from, just destroyed, I think it's so important that we take it upon ourselves to save our history, to teach our history to our children, so that's what we're doing. Through that conversation that I had with you all, I made comment that if anyone wants to truly, or we're truly interested in our history, the black community here. I'm 76 years old. My daddy bought property here in 1953. He bought 7 acres off of East Street. I'm 76 years old. My house is built on the tail end of that property now. So I know our history. I know what we've gone through in this town. I know the obstacles that we have endured. We went through a time when they tried to take our building, the old Weaverville Colored School on Hillside Street, the school that my mom went to school in, where my aunts and uncles went to school there. We've raised money. We were in the process of raising money. The rehab started last week. We're working on that building. We have great plans for that building. Again, during that conversation, I made a comment that if anyone come up to my house, my driveway, got my address. This is my address. You're welcome anytime. The next day, I was out in the yard doing something, and I see a little car come up my driveway, and I said, "Who is this?" So I waved, and a young lady stepped out. Town Council Lady Michelle Wood. She came up, we sat on the swing in the yard. My wife came out, and we sat there and talked. And what impressed me with you was how you approached me. The comment was, "I hope I'm not overstepping my boundaries by coming here to talk with you." But I heard what you said about your building and your history. And with, and I would like to go over with you and understand what you're trying to do, and maybe I can help you somehow. So that's when our friendship began. We were in the process of knocking on doors and looking for people and looking for ways to help us get that building up to par. I can say now that because of this young lady right here, knowing which avenue, which street, which corner, which tree to look behind, we found someone that helped us write a grant. It was successful through the Dogwood Foundation, through Buncombe County, plus all the money that was raised and given to us by members of this community. There were so many people that came to that building and didn't know what it was. Asked, what is this? I said, "It's a school where my mom went to school. I've been here all my life, never knew what it was." It was a Rosenroth school, it was a colored school, where we weren't allowed to go to school because being black. My mom went to school there. All my aunts and uncles went to school there. So that's what it is. And I'll open those doors again. We're working on the building. Anybody's welcome to get in touch with any of us, and we will gladly sit down and talk to you, because we're gonna have our history. Nobody can take our history. Don't let anybody fool you that we're gonna have our history. You know, that's the end of that right there. But I want to thank you all, and Michelle, you've been so good with us and helped us so much that we have a presentation for you, and I'm gonna let Norma read. If you could, could we hand you this? It's a letter. That was a crystal That's not here, and that's because of me, because my medical problems I'm going through, I didn't get all that done. But there's something else that goes with this. We're gonna give you this right now.
In honor of Councilwoman Michelle Wood, on behalf of Hillside Community, we extend our deepest gratitude, Councilwoman Michelle Wood, for an unwavering commitment, compassion, and tireless advocacy. Your leadership have made a lasting impact on our families, our history, and the future we are building together. Your support of the Weaverville Colored School and the Hillside Community Center has been nothing short of transformative. You have stood with us and preserved our heritage, uplifted our voices, and ensured that the stories, struggles, and achievements of our community are honored and remembered. Through your dedication, these spaces continue to serve as a powerful pillar of hope, unity, and opportunity for generations to come. Your presence has always brought encouragement, your guidance has opened doors, and your genuine care of the people of Hillside has shown us what the true public service looks like. Today, we celebrate you, not just for what you have done, but what for you are. A champion of the community, a listener, a bridge builder, a friend. Your legacy will remain woven in the hearts of Hillside, and we are forever grateful. Thank you, Councilwoman Wood, for your service, your heart, and your vision. You will always have a place here and a family in the Hillside community. November the 18th,
And
2025.
to add on to that, in our building, we're gonna have storyboards that's going to put a timeline down to where our folk came and where they're at now. And you have a place on that wall. I want you to know that. You have a place on that wall, and it'll be there. And also, did I mention that our building has been classified down from Buncombe County through the Preservation Society? It's a historical building now, so we've got that done with the help of this young lady right here. And there's some other folk that we're going to recognize, but not at this particular time. When our building is done to the point that it's going to take some years to do what we're doing it in phases, but when that time comes, we're going to open it up for and let you come and visit and sit with us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And also, I see some folks out here that's been instrumental. You know who you are.
Thank you all. Congratulations, Councilwoman Wood, and thank you for your initiative and all your hard work. Chip Lambert?
Good evening. That was quick. I come tonight just to some general concerns regarding what we're going to be talking about next on the annexation, or proposed annexation of the property located at 10 Silverwood Farm Road. And just in general, and this may be more directed at the people that we're proposing to develop that site, is that I just feel like there's not a really good, concise, direct way to disseminate the information that's coming out to the neighbors. Me and my wife's property abuts this property, and we received a letter a few months ago that said they were going to have a Zoom meeting. They said more information will be coming in the coming weeks before the proposed Zoom internet meeting. The Zoom internet meeting was 5 days later, so certainly there was not several weeks, as the letter said, and that was it. We never had any other invitation to the Zoom meeting, never received another letter regarding that. My second concern is that so far I've seen no schematics, no drawings, nothing to really tell me other than how many proposed structures there are, but there's no information about lines, sewage, drawings, how they would deal with the Flat Creek area, which is where our property is. So I say that just as a preface and as a warm-up to the discussion that's coming up in the coming minutes. Thanks.
Thank you. Pamela McCurry?
I'm Pamela McCurry. I'm at 40 Great Hall Road, which is right off of Clark's Chapel. So, same thing, Civil War Farms. Our property is right behind, so we're on the ridge. So all of my family, we have 12 acres there, family land, everybody's there. I think we're gonna be affected the most, just because we're all on the line. When the letter first came out, we were told 156 units. So I got the Weaverville packet, now I realize that it's gone to 300 to possibly 400 units of just apartments, and from 115 to possibly 180 for single-family homes. So that's a lot more than what we were notified in that first letter of the 156. So it just seems to be increasing each time we get, and actually all of my information is coming from the town of Weaverville. Like he stated, we're not really getting anything yet. I did email Landon Cox, and he did email me back, but they're not ready to send me what they have just yet. So I'm waiting on that, so I do thank you for emailing me back. I have a lot of concerns. I mean, I've lived there my whole life. I think it's too much for the area that we're in. I'm not crazy about apartments to begin with. I wouldn't mind the single-family homes. I think they'd have the same values as what we do, wanting to protect our property and keep the crime rate down. And I know with bigger population, there comes more crime. I mean, that's just common sense. And I read the letters from the police department and the fire department that was in the packet. And I do agree, but I think they're understated as far as what population is going to be coming from these apartments. And I have concerns even with the Northridge Farm that's going in behind Hobby Lobby. And I did notice in your packet that you stated that Weaverville's population, you know, we've took, what, the 5,100 mark for Weaverville's population? When all of these apartment complexes are completed, does anyone have any idea where we would be at that point as far as population? When they're up and running, I guess.
It's projected to double in the next 2 to 3 years.
Right. So there are times now to me Weaverville's congested now. It's hard to get through. My mom passed away in September, so I had to go down to West Funeral Home Friday to pay a bill for her. Of course, you had construction and things going up here on Main Street, but I thought I could still turn south to get down to West Funeral Home. Couldn't do that, so I ended up turning into Truist Bank, going back out, and I thought, well, I'll just hit New Stock and go to West and come back up. When I got to New Stock exit, of course, everybody else had the same idea. So it was lined up 2 at a time, and I'm sitting there just waiting my turn, and I hear sirens. And I'm thinking, I hope they're going to the interstate, going toward Asheville. They weren't. It was Weaverville. They were trying to get off on the ramp, we were packed. And luckily, we each had enough room, you know, to kind of divide the waters to let the fire department to come through. But then they were going to have to turn left to try to go down through the rest. So I've got a lot of concerns with the traffic and the crime that could be coming with all of these apartment complexes. Thank you.
Thank you. Keith McCurry.
Yes. Well, thank you for allowing me to speak here this evening. It is still on the same subject of 10 Silverwood Farm Road. And I want to voice my concerns. I spoke in the last meeting, and I asked for the environmental and the geological studies. I would like to see them if those are going to be done. Maybe they can answer this tonight. Also, as my wife stated, the footprint of this has increased since we got our letters, from the 156 to now, according to the packet and according to the application for the water, it's up to 588 units now. And if you look on over in your packet, it is a proposed future of 957 units on this property. That's in your information that you have. And I have a concern with that. This footprint that's going to be there, again, what is it going to do to our water table of our surrounding properties, of our wells? If this grading takes place, or if this footprint of these buildings, or asphalt, just the footprint of the building, the asphalt, the sidewalks, driveways, all of that. What is this going to do to our groundwater and our well water? We have 7 wells right there on top of that hill. I own 2 of those wells. I mentioned that in the last meeting. What are we going to do when our wells start having problems? What is our recourse that we are going to have? And not only that, it goes back to the water as far as y'all are concerned. All of these homes and these apartments being built, can y'all even handle this water load that's going to be put on y'all? What are y'all's stipulations and regulations that you have to follow to be able to supply this water to these people? This is a lot of buildings that's fixing to take place. What is that? And this, I wanna know what the detriment is gonna be to these surrounding properties. That's part of your land use plan that you have. What is it gonna be, the detriment to the surrounding properties and the neighborhood that we have? And I did speak with Samuel down at the planning department at MSD today. He told me the plans of what the proposed plans is for the sewer that's coming in. And I asked him, if the landowners do not give the right-of-ways for this sewer, what is going to take place? And he's told me eminent domain will take place to put this sewer in. Now, what is the rest of us are gonna do if these people need right-of-ways? They only have one entrance to this thing down off from Old Mars Hill Highway. How are you gonna funnel a proposed future of 957 units? That's 2 cars per people. That's 1,900 cars you're gonna be looking at, funneled out down there off Old Mars Hill Highway. Or is there gonna be another entrance, and is somebody else gonna lose their property by someone needing a right-of-way? I think these are questions that need to be answered, and need to be answered by the developer, because I think these developers are profiting off the backs of the landowners in this area. Thank you.
Thank you. Brian Witt?
To respect the request of only 3 people speaking on the subject, and I will use my time.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you all for your opinions this evening. We appreciate this. Now we're moving on to the discussion action items for this evening, and item A is the annexing, zoning, and water request for 10 Silverwood Farm Road. Manager Harris, what light can you shed on this matter?
The voluntary annexation petition seeking the approximately 107 acres located at 10 Silverwood Farms annexed into the town of Weaverville has been submitted. The purpose of their annexation appears to be obtain town services, including water to support an apartment complex, single-family residential unit lots, and 10-plus acres of commercial property. At your council meeting on September 22nd, the clerk was directed to investigate the sufficiency of the annexation petition. Ms. Mercer has done so and has found that the petition is sufficient. The petitioners requested R12, R3, and C2 traditional zoning, and the planning board recommendation was favorable as to the proposed district shown on the map attached to their recommendation letter. The town received a water commitment request on this property on November 5th. That information has been left at your seat tonight by our Public Works Director. And the town council findings on that. Several staff reports are provided for the council. Information regarding the packets for tonight. The staff applicant is here if you would like to hear from them for any questions regarding that, if you would like to hear from them tonight.
I'm pretty sure we probably do. Could you all introduce yourselves?
Sure.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to put into the record there were no online submissions received.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Bo Carpenter, attorney with Allen Stoll Kilborn. I represent LDG Development, which is the developer in this project. I'm here with Landon Cox, who is the primary contact with the developer. Here to answer any questions you guys might have. Just to address a couple of the concerns we heard. First of all, we hear you. We intend to follow up with you. We had the one neighborhood meeting a couple months ago, which we scheduled and had. We were planning on another one before the public hearing that will hopefully be set up December 9th. So we're very interested in engaging with the public in this matter. This is a project that is going forward in one way or the other. We'd love for it to be with the town. There is a affordable housing aspect to it. Approximately 1/3 of it will be affordable housing. It's much needed housing considering the expansion that's happening up here with Advent Health and the flow up of Weaverville that's happening right now. The reports did reference a higher impact than perhaps what is planned for the property. And Mr. Cox will speak more about that. but it's not gonna be as intense, as stated in those reports. And so that's something else, we can speak to tonight, is the intensity and what's planned for it. But in general, this is a good project for the town. We believe is much needed affordable housing and workforce housing to go along with the Advent Health coming in, and otherwise, we hope it's something the town will consider for annexation or water commitment. And the ask tonight is really to put it off for public hearing on December 9th for consideration by either this council or the following council. But public hearing on December 9th is the request for purposes of tonight.
Mr. Cox, I suspect there's been a lot of change about this project over the past few months. Could you give us an update on what exactly is the scope of the project and as it exists today?
Hi, good evening. Excuse me. Well, honestly, there haven't been that many changes. Just in regard to the dissemination of information, it's true that when we met in October that I said that I was going to circulate the site plan for the project, and I still am going to do that. Our engineers have been slower to get new plans into my hands, is the only reason I've not been able to send those around. I do have an initial site plan that I'm happy to send to folks, with the caveat that it doesn't represent what the community is going to look like. It was a first pass site plan that is intended really to see what's possible on a site, and then it's pared down. So that's the only reason I haven't sent that around. But I did, as of last Friday, receive the initial site plan for the affordable housing community component of it, which is our primary driver here. And I told Ms. McCurry I was going to send that to her once a couple of updates have been put into it. So we're going to send that around. But the number of units that were in the water allocation were really kind of based on some advice that we were given to put forward the most possible usage that we could imagine on the property, and then it could be pared down from there. Better to overestimate than underestimate. And so those numbers were based on that theoretical maximum that we could put on the site. So we don't at all expect as many units that are on there. It's still in the neighborhood of what we talked about to now. In the end, which I think will be around 130 single-family detached units and probably around 300 apartment units at the end of the day.
So the affordable housing portion would be the apartment buildings, correct?
Only a portion of those. So of the affordable community, we just learned last Friday is going to be 168 units. And then the balance of that 300 would be a workforce, which I'm not calling affordable, but it would be have income restrictions, 120% AMI and below is what we're thinking.
But that would be the apartments.
Those would be apartments,
Yes.
yeah. So
the apartment complex would be all workforce or cheap.
that's right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I know you're sure you probably have lots of questions for Mr. Cox. What questions do you have about this project?
I have lots of questions. I mean, I feel like we're just totally dealing with information that's not accurate. I mean, it's kind of like you take a snow globe and shake it, and then whatever falls down, we don't really know the answer, because, we read 300 or 400 here and possibly 115 to 130 houses, and then you put in application for sewer for the maximum amount of close to 1,000, and part of me wants to say, let's table this until you know what you really want to do.
Yeah.
But the other part of me says, how can this be good for the town? I mean, if it takes up, from what I read, from when the town reports come out and they say, if we do this and this and this, it's possible that we're gonna have to add another company of fire people. And my question is, how many is on a company? 5, 6?
3 to 4, minimum of 3 staff.
Okay, so minimum of 3 is a company. And so we say that's $300,000 or more if you add benefits and 401k. And then we say 2 possible police officers. We're looking at another 200,000 plus cars maybe. So now we're up to, we're saying at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're at about $700,000 of employees that we need to add to our town, but we're not adding except a minimum amount of taxes here. So it's hard to say it's good for the town. It could be good for the community, it could be good for the county, it could be good for you, it could be good for the hospital, but it's gonna be hard to be good for the town because the town doesn't magically come up with money. It's the people who live in the town that magically help come up with money.
And Councilman Cordell, just for clarification on that 3 per company, you would still need 3 shifts to cover that. So
that's 9.
9, working a 24-hour shift.
Okay, so we're over $1 million to make this happen. Thank you for answering that.
Yes, ma'am.
It's very difficult for me to, my snow globe is real fuzzy.
Yeah. So you're right to think that there's a lot that's up in the air about the single-family homes and the workforce, and that's always been true. The reason that we're trying to come through so quickly has to do with the financing for the affordable housing component of this, and I don't know if this is a satisfactory answer or not, but in order to move forward and qualify for the financing that we need to be able to show that we're entitled for the development of what we're proposing. And because those are happening at the beginning of the year, it means that we are needing to move forward really specifically what will only be about 20 acres of this in the end of this as the tax credit component of this. And, you know, we've offered to leave out some of the other stuff because it is so undetermined at this point, but, you know, the feedback I've received is no, keep it all together and try it all at once, so that's where we are.
I think that council is probably having difficulty trying to make decisions with regard to zoning, for example, if we don't have a site plan, you know, and we have some ambiguity about the number of units. So it would be hard, I think, for council to decide how to zone you if we didn't have a site plan, when at this point we don't have that yet. And when do you think that we might be able to see those?
I could provide the version of it that I mentioned before. It does represent the number of the single-family homes that I talked about. There will be more apartment buildings on there than we anticipate, so if you can be imaginative and ignore some of those, then I think it would give you a good sense of what we expect the project to be. You know, when we're thinking about how to allocate the resources that we have for the engineering, because the tax credit, the affordable part of it, is so pressing, there's a lot of work to be done before our applications go in. It's difficult to divert resources from the engineering firm to look at the single-family home stuff and the workforce component of it, when we really need their attention on the affordable part of it to get that through. So and it's extremely expensive to take everything else into account.
And when we had talked before, the affordable housing component of the apartments would be under a nonprofit status, is that correct?
That's right.
So there's no tax income for the town, so that does represent an expense for us with no income, so.
That's right, for the affordable housing. Right.
But the other portions, the non-apartment portions, would be presumably a for-tax corporation.
That's right. And the
for-profit, excuse me.
Yeah, and the commercial uses would be as well.
When will the affordable housing on Monticello that we've already approved, when do you think it'll be complete for people to move into?
Good question. We expect folks will start to be able to move in May, this coming May.
This coming May?
Yeah, so the clubhouse building will be the first to complete. I think that's will be complete in March. The first residential building will be in May, and then I think it will lease up through maybe September, October next year.
Because it would also be good if we could see something that you have done
Sure.
in our community that
Yeah.
we've already approved for you to do in
Yeah.
our community.
Yeah, I understand that, yeah. Yeah, they're moving ahead of schedule for whatever that's worth. And I turned that off before this meeting started, sorry about that. We wish they were done sooner as well, so, but yeah, that's when it'll be.
Councilman Jay.
I have a couple of concerns. One, which I don't believe has been brought up yet, and that is the fact that our satellite annexation property, this is going to take us to where we only have left less than 1% that we can have. This is going to basically shut out any other developments of any magnitude at all. So that's a big concern of mine. Also, from the numbers we have right now, I can't see the taxpayers underwriting and supporting the development of something like this at a cost to the taxpayers in this town. So the numbers just are very disturbing, and also the land part that you're proposing there will take away, basically, we won't be able to do any satellite annexation. It's been brought up that possibly it could be changed, but we can't deal with possibilities, we have to need facts.
Another reason that we'd offered to leave out portions of the land, but again, we've been advised that wouldn't really, to keep it together, so that's why we did it.
So does annexation of the affordable housing section, is that important in terms of getting your financing? or
Yes, yeah.
And could it just be 20 acres?
It could be yes, whatever the approximate acreage of that is, that would be helpful.
So overall, are you asking for annexation of 20 acres or 107?
We're asking for the 107 is the request, and as I say, that was largely kind of based on feedback that we received, but
So I'm just curious as to why, if your financiers would require annexation, or do they just require to know that they got sewer and water?
It's around showing that the property itself is entitled for its intended use, and that's important to show on the applications for funding, because it shows that it's, there's some priorities given to projects that are shovel-ready or, close to shovel-ready.
Right.
And so a big box that you check there is, do you have the entitlements you need to actually construct the community?
So it could be that if you could demonstrate that you had sewer and water available, that would be sufficient for your application for the tax credits.
I'm sorry, could you say that one more time?
It could be that that if you lacked annexation, but you could demonstrate that you had sewer and water availability, that would be sufficient for your application for tax credits.
Sewer and water availability are important, but when I say entitlement, I mean that it's properly zoned for its intended use. Yeah.
Have you been talking with the county about the possibility of working directly with them, since it's currently county property?
Not formally, but we just completed a rezoning, a special use permit, which is what this would need, through the county last week for a different project, so I'm familiar with the process.
Yeah, I would say a site plan would help us kind of visualize what is proposed, especially on the 20 acres.
A site plan, and perhaps an economic feasibility study. I mean, this is just, the numbers are just not really coming together for me. I would reiterate Catherine and Doug's point that, and I'm equally concerned that if we commit this amount of land mass to the satellite jurisdiction and something more economically feasible comes along a year from now, you can't do it. Write your congressman, but this is not presently something that I really feel that we can fully back. But a site plan would be helpful. Running the right amount of numbers is going to be helpful because we, to Catherine's point, have a prospect of $1 million of taxpayer money going behind this. And we're not going to get Section 8 subsidies or anything through HUD to subsidize the taking on a nonprofit, correct? There's no government subsidy behind this.
No, there is. It's not a Section 8 property. I should
Okay.
make that clear. But no, I mean, there's a lot of government funding that goes into this. Most of the community is paid for using federal tax credits and housing bonds, which are issued through state government.
But we don't get any of
But
that.
we don't get,
No, you don't get that. No,
no,
Yeah, yeah.
that's my point.
Yeah. Well, you said that there are federal subsidies to this project.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not to you all, but there are to us. But, I mean, potentially it could be. I don't know what the CDBG-DR funding.
Is there a deadline for the CDBG-DR funding?
Well, we've been waiting over a year for them to release their funding application.
Don't you love the feds?
Every month, it's supposed to come out that month. So I think that they're very close now, but there will be deadlines. It'll be probably, I don't know, I'm guessing 60 days from whenever it's released. You have to send it in.
Any other questions or concerns?
I would also, if you want to continue to pursue this, even though I don't really see how we could possibly do it, but if you were gonna continue it, I think you ought to do that water table search too for the people who are gonna live around that area.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that back up. So I've been advised by more than one engineering firm that there should be no concern about the water table and well water. We could look into it deeper if I had some information on the specific wells that are of concern, but my understanding is, since we know about it, and it was also asked about geotechnical reports, since we only just found out they're working on where the buildings are placed, so that's the step that we need to know before we can have a geotechnical performed. But when it does happen, now that we know of this concern, we can alert the folks that would be performing that test to look specifically and report back to us specifically on the subsurface conditions that would maybe impact those, and then they can adapt our site grading plan to mitigate any concerns about impacts on those. But off the cuff, the initial feedback I've got is that it's a very low likelihood that there's any kind of issues that could come from that, but we can look into them.
In the absence of a site plan, you probably can't answer this either, Mr. Cox, but is it true that the current plans, as you know them, would have all this, would there be a single ingress and egress to this property?
I think there would probably need to be more than one, and until we receive back the results of a traffic analysis, and have had more discussions with DOT, it's hard to say, but we've engaged, or we're receiving scopes of service from traffic engineers right now to perform the traffic study.
I'm concerned about the cost of things like additional fire trucks and police cars and the maintenance and all that goes along with that. It's gonna add something that the taxpayers would have to shoulder as well in the long run. So I think we really have to get a handle on exactly what we need to put there. And Catherine's statement, I agree with what she's saying. So I appreciate that very much.
Anything else? Is there any, yes?
I was just gonna say that we need a lot of information. We're dealing with things that's unknown. If I had to make a decision tonight, from my perspective, I couldn't support this being annexed into the town because it doesn't add up from several standpoints. We've got so many negatives against it. We just need more information, but then there's other things like the satellite acreage and other things that just doesn't look good to me.
Is that generally the feeling of the council in general, head nods will work? Can I make an assumption that council is saying that they don't want to take action tonight until we have more information, including a site plan and some more specificity with regards to numbers? Is that accurate on the council?
Yes.
I just want to add to that, that it sounds like you have a pretty tight deadline with a portion of this. And as a council, we can't be rushed into making this decision because it's a big one.
Sure. If I could just say a couple of things. First of all, I think my client's been a pretty good partner with Weaverville for the other projects. And so I'm hoping that gives some kind of comfort to the board that he's a good actor here.
And I would want to say that the town's had a very positive relationship with LDG in the past, and we look forward to working in the future. It's just that there's too much ambiguity tonight.
That's my second point, is you guys need some more information. It's very clear. We hear you on that. I would suggest, if you're comfortable doing so, still setting for public hearing on December 9th, and we'll come with that information before then. And if it's not there, then it's not there. But for purposes of tonight, because there is a tight timeline, I think the request would be go and set it for December 9th. And if we don't have the information to you guys by then you have a lot of reasons to criticize us and turn the project down. But I think the ask for tonight is go ahead and set it, and we'll work hard on everything we've heard, not only from you, but from the gallery here, from the people from the neighbors, and allow some time to work on that. To solidify that, as Landon said, we got the site plan on last Friday. So we can start sharing that, we can start having those conversations with staff, with you individually, with what have you. But if you could put it on for December 9th for the public hearing, to keep us on track, that would be what we're asking for tonight.
How do y'all feel?
We're not gonna come up with $1 million. That's the thing. We're not gonna be able to come up with all the extra employees, and it's a struggle.
Well, but Councilmember McGuire made a good point, is that you guys need some numbers here. You know, what are you getting in taxes versus what you're paying out in payroll? And I think there might be some information we can get you on that. I think the workforce housing, for example, I think that is taxable. And so we can work on some numbers for you, so you're not paying $1 million out of taxpayer funds, or at least have that information available.
Well, I don't know that there'd be much, I mean, you all know better than I how these budgets come together. You know, there is something in your all's paperwork about projections. You know, the units, I don't mean to disagree up here, but, not to disagree, but I just want to be realistic about what I'm gonna send you all is what I've told you right now out loud, what, you know, we're expecting in terms of the units, and that's not going to change. I could definitely give you the site plan, but, I defer, I guess, maybe to you all, just with the caveat that it is important for us to find out.
Mr. McGuire, you got something?
Yeah, I'm just trying to do the math in my head as far as a public hearing on December 9th, which would be our next scheduled meeting, our workshop. And the public hearing is to give the public the opportunity to speak. And they have to be able to speak with knowledge, right? They need to be educated on what's going on. So how is it that we can get that information and disseminate it to the public so that they can actually be heard? And take that podium and say, yes, I'm okay with this, or no, I'm not. How can we do that? How are we going to logistically do that?
I think it's on us to provide that information.
But to whom and through what channel?
The channels are already open with respect to the neighbors. We have the contact information. We had a neighborhood meeting voluntarily, and that was a month ago, and we understand there's lack of information on their part. We are just getting some information ourselves. And so we just got the site plan on Friday. We can share that.
Well, I'm sorry. I think one thing we've done, it might be true that the mailer that went out was a little bit fumbled, but there were people that showed up, but I've called every neighbor that's around the property. If I haven't, I've attempted. If I haven't, it's just because your information's on.
Give Mr. Cox your phone number.
Yeah, well, truly, I mean, and I've encouraged the folks that we have talked to give my information to everybody. I mean, I'm as accessible. There is no higher priority to me, and I mean this genuinely, than the folks behind me and the folks that live over there. And that you can ask the folks next to the Maribel Project. The same is true. I answer their phone call, visit them still now, and talk to them. So I'm dedicated to working with the neighbors, and that's true. And I'm sorry if we haven't been able to connect, but it's not because I don't want to connect.
Sure. Is there any desire on the council to set a public hearing prior to getting the information by request?
I think we should let Jennifer.
So to your question, we do have an application. And I think what is different about this one is this is a big project that's got a lot of different components to it, and you are normally used to seeing a site-specific plan under a conditional district zoning format. The developer has chosen to go a traditional route with R3 on the single-family portion, R12 on the apartment complex, and then the roughly 10 acres of commercial. And so right now, the application before you is traditional zoning, annexation with traditional zoning. So no offense to these guys, the site plan that they're talking about, that's what they're saying that they're gonna do, but the actual application that we have is setting that aside completely and looking at the zoning, whether the zoning is appropriate, traditional zoning is appropriate, and looking at your growth area resolutions that y'all have worked on in the past, and what do y'all anticipate is their zoning plan, does that seem consistent? And so that's what your public hearing would be on. It's not really, the developers can come with their site plan and say, this is what we intend to do. But the actual public hearing is not on that site plan. It's on the traditional zoning that they have laid out, and that's in your packet that has been reviewed by your planning board.
So, Mr. Cox, why did you not pursue a conditional zoning district?
Because of the timing and related to that. But, you know, we mentioned that the site plans are hard to pull together, and, you know, they're only now available to me. And that would just be the beginning of that conditional zoning discussion, you know, if that was required. And we did it with Maribel, and it was 11 months, I think, to get through that. And we don't have 11 months, so.
So is it not true that zoning goes with the property if the site plan changes? So we're not sure how to zone this yet, are we?
I don't understand.
So the zoning designation does follow the land. It is not permanent. You can always have map amendments. You do that occasionally to say we want to change this portion of R12 to something else, or vice versa. So it does run with the land. And so if you zone as they've requested, then the three sections, those are considered separate parcels and are zoned according to what you would ultimately decide. Did that answer your question?
So, Councilmember Wood, so basically, for example, there's C2 zoning for commercial district. Once it was zoned C2, then anything of that C2 fitting commercial district could go in there. Whether or not they have a specific building listed or not, when it comes in there, then if it's zoned for C2 and that's what you have, as a council, have approved and authorized in there, then anything fitting that category could go in there. Versus a conditional zoning district, then it would be stipulated on what that would be. So.
Any other questions for the developer? What is the will of council?
Would you consider withdrawing this and coming back with much less so that it would not eat up 99-point-something% of our annexation area?
So, yes, I'd consider that, yeah. I think you're asking this, what I was proposing earlier, which is that we could scale it down.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm saying, I don't see possible way for this.
Yeah.
I mean, but, you know, I'm not the only one here, there's 7. I'm wondering if you would consider, because, you know, putting all of our eggs in one basket and knowing that we don't have $1 million of extra tax coming in puts it in a real hodgepodge for us. It's the rock in the hard place.
Sure.
I think it's also significant that by the time this comes up for a vote, half of this council will be different.
That's true.
I mean, it won't be 4 of us. It'll be 4 new people.
Sure. Can I ask a question about that? So there were 2 considerations. One was the annexation, the other was the water. Do they have to be paired, or can the water be considered separately? How does that work?
Yes, I believe it's, am I correct? Yes, they're separate applications.
Sure, okay. Do I have to give a definitive answer? I mean, my thought is yes.
No, you can just think about it.
Okay.
James, it might be helpful for folks too if you would describe the processes we go through. First, we'd have a public hearing on the zonings. Then when I got to go to the planning board, could you describe the process so that everyone has an idea of what's involved?
So the first thing that comes to mind is our friends on the planning board have already done their homework on this issue and have issued a favorable recommendation on the zoning map that you have included in your packet. The next step in this process inevitably will be, no matter what date is chosen, a public hearing. The governing board, what iteration of the governing board may be at that time, cannot act on this item until those public hearings are held. That'll be both for the annexation and for the zoning of the properties.
So if there was a change to the existing application, such as they divided up the property for different zoning, or they went for a conditional zoning district, or then that would require yet another visit to the planning board, is that correct?
If we went conditional zoning, it would have to go back to the planning board. If there was an intensification of the zoning requested, that also would have to go back to the planning board.
So the planning board's approval, if you will, is based solely on what we received, the application as it exists right now.
And
You change that.
And the zoning.
And the zoning, correct?
Yeah.
But the planning board doesn't make recommendations as to whether or not we should annex. They make recommendations as to whether or not this is a fit zoning classification.
So the specific job of the planning board in this regard is to make a statement to town council, which they have, and it's included in your packet, as to whether or not the project is consistent with your comprehensive land use plan. They relied pretty heavily on the resolution concerning growth areas, which called out all of these uses that are being proposed or would be permitted should the zoning be ascribed to the property as has been requested. All of those were specifically enumerated in your growth area resolution. Secondly, what the planning board must find is that the rezoning, or in this case, the initial zoning, is reasonable, and there are 5 factors that go into that I must admit I don't have memorized. But the recommendation was unanimous to both of those regards.
And if the town chooses to not annex, but would allow for water, then it stays with county zoning, and we don't make decisions on zoning anyway, correct?
That is correct. There exists a possibility that the property owner, in this case, representative of the property owner, could go to Buncombe County and seek development approval. There have been a few statements regarding advice that our applicant has received. Perhaps some of the reason that advice was relayed in that manner is since 2017, almost every single development application that was requesting town water from outside of our municipal borders, town council also requested voluntary annexation petition. And that is 8 years of information based upon previous action of this governing board that was relayed to this particular applicant.
But none of them ever took 99.9% of all of our.
This one does have some unique complications. I grant us all that, up to and including our satellite annexation percentage that has been touched upon quite a bit so far.
I don't really have an issue with a public hearing regarding the zoning, letting the public speak. We're not making any decisions, we're
That's right.
listening.
That's right, we're listening.
Yeah, it seems very narrowed in scope.
Mhm.
And it's not really the issue with zoning that I'm hearing over and over.
Mhm.
Our heartburn is attributable to other issues.
Would you like to recommend some action then?
Mr. Mayor, before I may, before you call a question on that, is just to clear up Ms. Cordell's point is that if this did occur in the county, it would still be in the North Buncombe Fire District, so fire would still be responding there regardless.
And we have, obviously, much less to say about what and how much gets built there.
I'll make a motion for a public hearing.
So there's a motion to set a public hearing for the zoning as that exists in your packet tonight for December 9th, and let the public speak to what they think about this zoning request. Let's do both. So is there any more comments?
Are we doing annexation public hearing on the 9th as well
Well-
as zoning, or just zoning?
I think we can do what we want.
That's what,
There's two separate applications, correct? Yes. So you could do one or both, or all in one.
I'm in favor of setting the zoning public hearing, but I'm not in favor of setting the annexation public hearing.
Can you amend your resolution to that?
Sure, let's have a public.
So the amended motion is to set a public hearing for December 9th for zoning only. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, just help me understand what you mean.
Well, I don't think that if we're being asked to have a public hearing on annexation issues, it seems to me that the public hasn't had the necessary opportunity to fully vet this project, because we don't even have a site plan, right? And that's what we seem to be saying. So I'm breaking it into two.
Two separate
Two
days.
Two separate hearings,
I
please.
would, that's just me, but that's what I would do.
So we're suggesting that there's two separate applications, one for annexation, one for zoning, and there are two public hearings as well. And what Mr. McGuire is suggesting is that we set the public hearing for the zoning only, but not necessarily for the annexation, because he feels that there's not enough information yet to make
I
a
think it's
determination.
premature.
I agree.
Jennifer, do you have something?
I'm happy to give you, I'm happy to sit down, but I'm also happy to offer just a couple more thoughts on that. One is the zoning doesn't matter unless you're gonna annex.
That's true.
And the public hearing on the annexation actually is really meant to hear from your current residents, your current Weaverville residents on whether they wish to take it in. That's typically what the public hearing on the annexation piece is. The zoning piece is a little broader because it's the zoning piece that starts giving some color to what possible uses could be on there.
So I think it kind of niches your idea.
Can I
So-
ask a clarifying question?
Yes.
Sorry. It's just on the point about reducing the request. So in that event, if we withdraw what's in front of you now, then that's how it would happen. That would just be withdrawn, and this would be moot. There wouldn't be a discussion in December, and then we would just resubmit a new application.
That's correct. That's my understanding. Is that correct? James, or-
I think the planning board's approval recommendation still stands if there's we talk about zoning or annexation?
The question about would we pare down the annexation request?
Don't sit down again, Jennifer.
So my thought on that is you've got a zoning map with three different zones on it. If the scaling back of it is to strip out, say, the R3, so we're not gonna do the R3, we're gonna just do the R12 and C. I think you could go forward because you've already got a planning board recommendation on that if it's the boundaries that y'all had currently proposed. Now, if the lines are gonna change again, or if there's a big reconfiguration, then I do think it would need to go back to, back down to the planning board. Does that make sense?
That's my understanding as well. If we reduce what we're asking, we don't need to go back to the planning board. Obviously, if we change the lines or increase the intensity, we'll have to go back. I don't think that's what we're discussing. We're discussing scaling it back some. And in that case, it wouldn't be the issue to go ahead and have the public hearing. So we'll have time to do that between now and then if that's what ends up happening.
Now, the comments we heard in public comments were more about grading, were about water, were about some of those kind of issues that don't affect the zoning. They affect the annexation. I mean, they affect, what's going to go on the piece of property.
And you're talking about the sewer and the right of way, okay.
The grading, the water table,
Yeah,
those things.
right. So I mentioned what the feedback I've got on the water table and the wells and how we would address that. I have to say that what was said about the eminent domain, and I believe Mr. McCurry that he was told that by MSD, that was the first I've ever heard the words eminent domain raised and relates to any of this. My understanding about it is there is existing right-of-way that goes from that, from Clark's Chapel all the way to the nearest sewer, and that those kinds of things are not, I don't know. So I have to check with MSD on that, but that's the first anyone's ever said something like that.
So, a lot of questions. What is people's comfort level? Right now, there is a motion on the table to set the public hearing for annexation and zoning, of course, that Jeff makes a good point that one kind of requires the other, for December 9. How are people feeling?
2 on December 9th.
Yeah, we did that.
The zoning on December 9th and the annexation on December 9th.
Right, because that, I think Jeremy makes a good point. You don't, there's not a zoning discussion to be had if we don't annex.
And so you're thinking, you're saying that when we think about annexation, that's for the people of the town who pay the current taxes to come and say yes or no, because they're gonna have to pay a lot more taxes if we annex a huge property that doesn't bring in much taxes and may not bring any for years to come. And then we lose all of our opportunity if future subdivisions want to come in our growth areas that would be bringing in taxes. They will still be built, we will still let them have water, but they will pay Buncombe County taxes only. I mean, if it, I'm not gonna be here after December, you know, it'll be a whole new council, a bunch of us won't be here. But to me, it seems like it's rushing it, and we don't have enough information. My snow globe's just, you know, got all kinds of stuff in it, and it's not falling out and feeling good. I mean, yes, it is the proper zoning, yes.
Right.
Should it be annexed? Is it good for the town? How will we pay for it? Those are all the things, and how many units are actually gonna be there. So,
I'm just cognizant of the fact that there is generally one public hearing on a question. We're not gonna have 3, we're not gonna have 4, we're not gonna have people who wanna come back and voice it 4 months from now because something else developed. It might happen that way if lines get changed or plans get changed, but I used the phrase or the word premature earlier, I'm gonna say that. I don't feel comfortable with this.
Is that the feeling of council in general?
I feel like it's being rushed.
Maybe.
You want to withdraw your motion?
Yes, I'll withdraw.
Okay. So let me see if I'm voicing the council's concerns correctly. We think the LDG is a good partner with us. We simply are not feeling comfortable with setting a public hearing and making decisions on annexation or zoning until we have more specific information with regard to what's being annexed, what if you would consider conditional zoning, and how many units you're talking about, et cetera. Is that accurate, folks? Am I voicing your opinions correctly?
And look at the acreage.
And yes.
Sure.
What question did you have?
Well, nothing.
Mr. Goss?
We'll endeavor to get all that information to you as quickly as we can get it in our hands.
I think that would make people feel a lot more comfortable if we just had some more specificity about the project. I don't think that people are against the project, or people are just saying we don't exactly know what the hell the project is at this point.
Yeah, understood. Okay.
All right.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Let's see, folks, the next item up is anticipated vacancy on town council. So as you know, on December 15th, we'll be swearing in folks who have won in the recent election, and they will get to deal with this probably. So congratulations, guys. But that, with council member Lawrence assuming the mayor's position on December 15th, that means there will be a vacancy left for his unexpired term of the next 2 years as a council member. The town council will have an opportunity to either replace that or not, depending what they choose to do. But if folks are interested in applying for that vacancy, there is an application that can be either gotten from the website or from the office here, and people who are interested need to fill out an application and submit that by December the 8th. And as those applications become available, they will be sent to all council members who will be voting on that issue, which could be on December 15th. At that point, council could either make a motion and make a decision, or they could do something else. For example, they could set up interviews with those people who've applied, or set aside a separate committee to review them, whichever the new council decides to do. But I just want to make sure that people knew what that process was and what would happen with that position. So it's basically up to the new council what they do. That they could choose to do nothing, let it sit empty, or they could choose to appoint someone to fill that term. Are there any questions or concerns about this? No. Great, so next up is our quarterly report from fire, and interim fire chief Ron Davis, you might remember him from a different capacity. But he's with Weaverville again, and right now he's our interim fire chief. Welcome back, Mr. Davis.
Chief Davis.
Good evening and thank you. It's a little odd to be here, I gotta admit, back in this capacity too, but whenever the manager contacted me, my first instinct was, how can I help? So here I am, it's great to see everybody. And I'll get into the report here. It might be, the format might be just a little bit different than what you're used to in the past. So I think we'll start off with the fire marshal's report. The fire marshal conducted a total of 9 events. There were 640 kids in those events and 19 adults, so he has been a little bit busy with these educational classes in prevention. He had a total of 77 inspections in 90 days, and I don't know if anybody knows the complexity of some of those commercial structures that he has to inspect, but they can be quite involved and quite detailed. Well, 90 days, of course, there's the week. Less than 60 days, he had to conduct 77 total inspections on that. So he's been a little busy in his area. The major incident types, this is, again, something that you're probably used to seeing from prior reports. I'm not sure what questions you might have, but I will point out, we were talking about our activities going up. I'm a little bit of a numbers geek, if you remember correctly, with some of the stuff I've bombarded council with before. Those numbers were actually going up. They're at 601 total incidents in this quarter, and that's up 7% from the previous quarter. Next, we have our fire loss. This fire loss is actually pretty ugly. I'm sure you're aware of one of those fire losses was actually an apparatus itself. As you can, I don't have a picture of that, but it's a little bit hard to stop a fire once one is started into a vehicle and it gets rather involved with the subsystems and things like that. So the fire truck, and there was one home that was involved in a fire. That fire was, it was a late call. In other words, it came in late, so which means that the fire was actually almost fully involved when the firefighters were called there, which again makes it problematic for any type of substantial save of dollars. And that's why if you see the discrepancy from the 703 to 704, that was only a total save this time of $1,300 out of those two major losses. So that's pretty insignificant.
So tell us how your discussion with the insurance folks are going with regard to our truck. Did you get the check yet?
That is a complex issue, and the manager sent me an email on that today, as well as Tanya. It's moving forward, but at a snail's pace, if I am correct.
We have been notified that the truck will be totaled out, but they are not through putting all the numbers, facts, and figures together yet. But they said it is going to reach that threshold, but they haven't given us the official report.
Considering the time that it takes to order a truck, I mean, we've already been experiencing this with the order that we've already got in. What are we waiting, 2 years now for it? It takes about 2 years to get a truck.
Yes,
right?
sir. About 4. I mean, we've, that other one was ordered in, the first engine was ordered July of 23, and they still haven't even started construction on it yet.
So do we have to do that again, and we're just down a truck for the next?
There are some other options out there, whether you're going to buy used or you buy something that somebody had planned to purchase and purchasing fell through, or a stock truck that has come off that it won't have the specs. One of the things we look at in this terrain is what we consider crab angle, especially trying to turn up some of these driveways, so it may not, being a stock truck, it may not coincide with some of the angle departures we would have on a spec'd out apparatus. So that's one of the reasons when you build it from scratch is you look at it from how your terrain impacts that design feature.
So I can, I think it's common when your vehicle gets totaled, you get the insurance check, it doesn't really replace the.
Correct.
And I suspect that's probably the case here too, right?
I suspect that is going to be the case, but we're also going to, moving forward, look at talks with our insurance provider on changing the way we do business on that aspect. For example, they had what is agreed upon cost. If we tell them that the engine is $1.2 million to replace it, then that's what they will factor it in moving forward. And for example, if it comes back to be 1 million, then they still give us 1.2. If it comes back to be 1.5 to replace it, then we still get 1.2.
But that would be for the future, not.
Correct, yeah, not for this one, but so as we're learning and navigating this, we're looking at options of how to better fund, especially with the price of apparatus in that department. We wouldn't do that town-wide, but in that department where you're looking at $1 million replacement apparatus, we're looking at that.
We could probably buy a lot of quick response vehicles though with that. Sorry, Mr.
No, that's okay. My understanding also, to answer your question just a little bit more, we're looking at roughly 18 months from now, should they start the build, is that correct? Something like that. It's going to be a little while longer, and in the meantime, let's hope our other engine holds together is what.
Fingers crossed.
Yes. All right, the incident count per zone, I know that this varies a little bit from area to area. Like last quarter, there was actually more calls within the town than there was outside of the town. This has flipped a little bit, but not much. There's not really a whole lot to go over other than that. It's those numbers are pretty normal. In the next slide, the last slide I have for you, is the average response time. That average response time increased by 38 seconds from the previous quarter, and there are 135 overlapping calls for service, which is a 32% increase in one quarter alone. I know that you've had that whenever there's vehicles or whenever there's firefighters and out on other calls, they obviously can't go to that pending call, so that increased 32%. So everybody, to include the fire marshal, is busy. That shows no signs of abating. Is there any questions you might have?
Any questions of the chief? Thank you, sir. Nice to see you again.
Yes, thank you.
Next is our quarterly report from the police and Chief Oberlin. And I just gotta say, this morning I went to the coffee shop and I guess I dropped my wallet, and Chief Oberlin came to the rescue and returned my wallet, so thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. Thank heavens your ID's in there and we recognize you. So, good evening, neighbors, future council. We'll just get started. You've had some time to look over it. Thanks. The quarterly report looks like calls for service are staying pretty consistent there. If we want to move on to the next little graph there, I did want to take a moment to point out that our accidents had a big jump on the next screen, with going from about 23 a month to 57. So fun fact on that, only 22 of those were reportable. We pulled some information on that. 14 of them were hit and runs with property damage. One was on Main Street where someone opened their door into traffic, and all the rest were in parking lots. 35 motor vehicle accidents. One on North Main where a large truck flipped a mirror. One at the laundromat from someone who made a mistake in backing. One on Alabama when someone made a mistake leaving a parking lot or a parking spot. One at North Main Street when a vehicle failed to yield right of way, so that's 5, right? And the rest of them were on the boulevard and commercial areas of all of those. 3 of them had personal injury of those wrecks, so little blip there. Training and professional development, you've had some time to read over those. If you have any questions about those, I'm open to it, but just one moment with the bike team leader completing police bike maintenance training. That means that all of our stuff can happen in-house. And OSHA strangely does ask for records for even things down to bicycles. So that will help us make sure to maintain the new bikes, including the e-bike. Activities of interest. We put Chief Harris on there. He helped us with not just the first day of school, but the first week of school. So I asked one of the officers to do a drive-by snapshot. And that's what you got in there. And you can see some of the other extra activities we've done along the way.
We also, on the next one, had a vehicle totaled on the interstate. We have gotten the money back from that, and we are looking to buy a used vehicle. So if I had to put a silver lining on that, that vehicle had over 100,000 miles on it. So I guess if we were gonna pick one that had to be totaled, yeah, it was not on purpose, but if we had to pick one. And so we are looking, but mostly for used vehicles. So we took that vehicle to a company that stripped all of our police equipment out of it. It's already being repurposed into the builds for this year. And we're looking for something that's still hybrid, that's meeting all of the qualifications of what we need. Some options already have police equipment in them, some don't. We haven't found the right fit quite yet. We'll keep looking. And then we did do a checkpoint. That was on the bottom of the page. You've had some time to look over that. The traffic team addressed some issues because you may remember, but we've had a lot of speeding issues, 35-mile-an-hour zone there with people coming through at 60 or 70, so they chose that location and had some success. That is a 2-hour checkpoint when they do that on Merriman, so those are pretty significant numbers for 2 hours. And then,
What is Senate Bill 300?
what's that?
What is Senate Bill 300?
Well, that's what I'm gonna touch on.
All right.
So why do you do that? That's, we got some questions about why there might be more than one officer on a call, and even, a little question about was that some way the officers might be trying to intimidate people, and that is not, something that we do. So if we have an officer in training, you're gonna see that quite a bit. I have a BLET student about to graduate in December. We have a 16-week field training program, so he'll be in a car with someone for quite a while. Language barriers, we'll send a second officer out. Officer Rodriguez is Spanish speaking. He helps a lot of our surrounding agencies to go out if we have language barriers. Specialty skills needed. So if we have someone that's specially trained in crash-related incidents, if we are going to domestic violence and we have someone that's specially trained in domestic violence, we have crisis negotiators, drug recognition officers, DWI officers, things like that. Multiple suspects, obviously, if we're gonna do a vehicle search or something, you don't want to have your head in the car and turn around and your suspects are nowhere to be found and they've run off. So it's helpful to have somebody watch for you. The potential for danger can be anything from being on a traffic stop where there's a dense population and a lot of people can be involved and a lot of moving parts, to the nature of the call or high traffic, or if there's gonna be further investigation needed. But Senate Bill 300 is a bill that became effective December 1st, 2021, and focused on early intervention mechanisms to correct officer misconduct and to provide warning systems to track or improve officer performance. Part of that is duty to intervene. So we are obligated as officers to intervene if we witness another officer using any kind of excessive force. With that being said, you actually have to be present to intervene. So we do have supervisors that regularly check in on their officers to check the temperature of the call and make sure that everything's going well. With a lot of new officers that we've had, so with Chief Davis retiring and me moving up, that brought a new officer in, things like that. You asked me not to snipe officers from other agencies, so I didn't, but that means I have a 20-year-old officer who needs some supervision, both for life experience and police experience, right? So they will likely have someone looking over them to make sure that they're being proverbially raised well, right? From baby officers into grown officers. Do you have questions?
Any questions for the chief? Thank you, Chief. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Next report is from the Community Center, and we have our Community Center Manager, Michael DeSario.
Thank you, Mayor and Town Council. Try to end this on a little bit of sunshine. So this quarterly report, we're given it in November, of course, but it spans from July through September, which is crazy to look back at that. First, I'll go ahead and start with the private rentals. So you'll see our new pricing that we've introduced. And basically, it sorts out a little bit lower than what we've seen in the past. But 56% of our usage is by residents now. And then this quarter, it's 44% by non-residents. So that total revenue is around $9,400. Speaking about the facility itself, next up are just some updates. Good news, no vehicles were totaled, nothing caught on fire. So, thank God. Knocking on wood over here.
We appreciate that.
That's right. But we are seeing some normal wear and tear in the building. So, paint, chipping, that sort of stuff that needs to be fixed. The automatic doors, which happen to be pretty expensive, have been repaired a couple of times. AV equipment, we thought it might need to be updated, but it looks like it's in good shape. So I had a routine maintenance done, and then there's been some interior repairs done in the Albert Wheeler Room. So next up, our community programs. Nothing too new there with our community programs. They're still going strong. Over 30 different programs, all run by volunteers who are happy to be there, and we love to see that, and we love to support them. Just to highlight some community events that have happened. There's been several storytelling events, one by Nancy Pheasant, another local group, In Other Words, and then a conglomeration of storytellers called The Time of Our Lives. Next is the celebration of 150 years. And then, of course, our Music in the Park, which was the Chris Rosser, Rudy's Bluegrass Review, and then Queen Bee and the Honey Lovers, which everybody seemed to really love that last event, so that was lovely. Some more town events. Can you believe that the 4th of July, I'm just now highlighting that, but that was wonderful. It went really well. A good amount of food trucks were there. Everything seems to go pretty smooth on our end. Breakfast for Dinner is the band that was featured there. They did really well, and we got great feedback. Some other events is the 9/11 observance, and then the Helene Recovery and Resilience event that we put on. Next, just over the summer, since summer ended, our Family Fridays was the program that we introduced. That concluded as well, and that Family Fridays featured story time, toddler time, arts and crafts in the afternoon, movie nights in the evenings, and cooking classes as well. And then we have some pickleball updates. The town is providing quieter pickleball supplies, so at no cost. So there's more balls that are up there, and whatever receptacle that you have, they're quieter, are supposed to be quieter than typical pickleballs, and we also feature paddle covers that if people need or want those, we have those available for them. Our pickleball hours also shifted in October from 8 a.m. To 8 p.m. from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., which it is now. And then lastly, I know this has happened this last month, which technically not in the quarter, but I wanted to mention because I highlighted it last quarterly report about honoring our volunteers over the month of October. So we didn't know exactly what we wanted to do, but we ended up basically getting a really nice card, writing a handwritten card to them, and then on the volunteers that had the larger classes, we actually went into the class and publicly thanked our volunteer, had their class clap for them, handed them the card, so hopefully they felt really warm. We got a lot of feedback about that, because we appreciate what the volunteers do and the lovely work that they allow us to do. I think that's it. Any questions?
Any questions, Mr. Marshall? Thank you, sir.
Awesome.
Thanks for saving us some money. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Is there anything else coming before this board this evening, gentlemen and ladies? If not, we're adjourned.